In today's video, I just want to present a topic, an idea that I think that this is a really cool area of interest, and that's looking at old artifacts and ripping apart the narrative. And I think that this goes in with fake history. There's so much good research out there breaking apart history, talking about foundations, and Freemasonry, and how history is a lie, and a lot of stuff is found. But it's mostly focused on the buildings. And I think that there's a lot of artifacts where the history has been completely fabricated. And so today I'm gonna talk about this walking stick, flute, oboe. And so who knows when these things come from? Sometime it's probably pre-flood. Some artifacts, I believe, probably do go all the way back to pre-flood. And there are, stories that we hear about, oh, the Smithsonian goes around and snatches up all sorts of stuff, and the museums only show us a fraction of what they really have. And if you believe in things like flat Earth and stuff, how you believe that those in control know truths that they purposefully hide from people. It's not a stretch to think that they have hidden all sorts of artifacts that are really cool, and that if they even would show us them, they would tell us a lie about them. And I think that this is a good example, the walking stick, flute, oboe. And for a particular reason, and it's involved with fake animals. So how cool is this example? But first, like earlier today, I was looking at deep diving stuff. And what do you know? Like, the Victorian era had these crazy steampunk looking deep diving suits. And they look really, really well made, but then they'll say something like, and it never worked. And I think that that's just a clear BS explanation that they have. And when you understand that the way history resets work, it's a mad grab, finders keepers. Why is finders keepers such like a big idea? It's because of this historical reset that we live in. They've done this multiple times. I think that those in control, the Freemasons, the Illuminati, have probably reset this place multiple times by now. And they know it's a mad dash to grab the land, grab the old buildings, and make new signs and facades for things, clean up the place. But the tech, gold, I think that's what the whole gold rush is about. Rushing to the West Coast to find the cities and grab any tech and melt it down and just get the gold out of it, or go get all the riches, the jewelry and stuff. But I think a lot of it probably was tech, and was probably attached to the buildings and stuff. They take stuff down. You hear stories. I did a video, who knows, probably years ago by now, in some amusement park in Portland, Oregon, with like a gold dome. And yeah, I imagine that they inherited that stuff, and a lot of them just melted it down. And that's what the gold rush was. They probably weren't really doing a lot of panning for gold. They probably were just inheriting stuff, going through all the destruction and melting it down. Well, I think I've reached the quota for rambling. Oh yeah, the suit. I didn't finish my thought about the diving suit. I think the clear explanation, the obvious story behind this really impressive looking steampunk Victorian era diving suit, it's not that somebody built that and then it never worked. It's just that they weren't able to refurbish it to working condition. Maybe they didn't know exactly how they water sealed it, and maybe it just has corroded a little bit over time, and now it needs to be refurbished, and they don't know how to correctly refurbish it. I think that because that's a story that I feel like they do that story a lot, where you see something really impressive and they'll tell you, oh yeah, that it never actually worked. Or you'll see schematics for stuff, oh, that never actually existed, it never actually got built. I don't have a bunch of examples on hand, but it is a recurring theme, I believe, of, whoa, that's a really impressive thing that this person back in the 1800s did. Oh, but it didn't work, you're telling me? I mean, it looks like it works. So I'm going to finish up this video, read through this. This rare instrument combining a transverse flute and an oboe in the form of a walking stick is made of narwhal tusk, a precious material once valued higher than gold and believed to be from the horn of the mythological unicorn. So if you watched my videos before, maybe you know I do not believe in narwhals. Go check out my fake animal playlist. I have videos on it. I have seen blatant CGI narwhals. I believe they take seal footage and they just CGI a narwhal head on them. The physics doesn't make any sense of them. So many people are like, wait, I always thought that was just a made-up creature. And it is. And it's just the same way that they make up stories and then they make a movie out of it and they go, this movie is based on real life. And in their minds, that makes the original hoax real. Anyways, the only way that I can even make sense of their sentence, a precious material once valued higher than gold. What, a narwhal tusk was a precious material once higher than gold and believed to be from the horn of the mythological unicorn? I think what they're trying to say is the story always was that this flute was made from a unicorn horn, which was the very higher than gold thing. And that actually scientists today have discovered that it's a narwhal tusk. And I think that this is real unicorn. And this is one of those things where I think that there's big things out there like that when it comes to ancient artifacts where they tell us a fib. They tell us a stupid story about it, but the object itself is even cooler than what they say. Obviously, a lot of nerds out there would think that that's like really cool that we have this narwhal tusk flute. But I think that the reality is even cooler, that it's actually from a real unicorn. There was recently, not even recently, maybe years ago now, there was some weird, was it in London? Something involving a knife attack, I think. And somebody allegedly came out of a museum with a narwhal tusk to defend. Do you guys remember that? Look at this though, so fascinating. That doesn't look anything to me like what they show us narwhal tusks look like. And yeah, there was the weird psyop on the bridge, I think, with the narwhal. I don't know if I'm getting all the details right. But in that case, I think sometimes it's just a totally fabricated artifact. But I do believe that they probably have unicorn horns somewhere. And this could be one example. To me, it looks really fascinating. It looks very interesting. And I don't believe in narwhals, so what is it? I think this could be a real unicorn horn. It also reminded me of other things I've been reading about. I was reading about asbestos and how these materials, kings in times past, they would have a cloth that's made from this, and they would impress guests by throwing it in the fire. And stuff like that just shows you how magic was like just so much more real back then. Like people could do it today, but who has an asbestos cloth? And everybody's terrified of it now and stuff. And I mean, I guess you can discuss safety in your comments, but I think it's just really interesting that there were these items, these like relic items. What do you want to call them? Heirloom, I don't know, party tricks, sometimes magic. It's like magic. The kings would have objects with special properties. They could take a cloth napkin and toss it in the fire. This was just another one that came to mind, that kings would just have collections of odd things. And it's like alchemy. And they had to go mine these strange substances out of the earth. And I mean, that is why science is these people's religion, I think, because it's trying to understand all of these alchemical oddities in God's creation. And it is a way. The truth, there sometimes are truths behind these things, and figuring out how they work. And God did make a really incredible, interesting place, and magic is real. And anyways. Another interesting thing that's just tangentially related, like this I just think is tangentially related, that kings in times past had giant collections of oddities, you know, napkins made out of asbestos. Maybe some of them had suits and they would walk through fire with it. I don't know, but leave examples if you know examples of cool relics that were, I don't know, alchemical in nature. But it reminded me of this part. I've been reading through Numbers recently. I just finished it. Maybe I'll read through it again. There were some interesting things. Maybe I'll do a couple videos on it. Some interesting stuff about women in the book of Numbers. The Bible, so much more positive towards women than people try to make it out to be, oh, the worst. But really, the time period was really bad for women, yes, in general, but the Bible always surprises me with, like, oh, that's very, you know, progressive. Anyways, back on the topic of relics and such. Numbers chapter 3, verse 8. This is just more of an overview video. This is like a topic to look into. And they shall keep all the instruments of the tabernacle of the congregation and the charge of the children of Israel to do the service of the tabernacle. Next verse. Numbers chapter 31, verse 6. So way later in Numbers, it gets brought up again. And Moses sent them to the war, 1,000 of every tribe, them and Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the priest, to the war with the holy instruments and the trumpets to blow in his hand. It's so interesting. I think maybe this is the source of the idea of the Ark of the Covenant being a war weapon, a weapon of destruction. And I think that there's a lot to that when they went to war, they brought their holy instruments. And instruments being next to trumpets is the whole idea of them calling various, you know, instruments, what we call today instruments, is that them trying to obscure the fact that instruments are different than things that you make music with? I think that there's something there, that the instruments probably meant more like tech that they didn't understand, gadgets, instruments in that sense, you know, more as a tool, less as a music making device. Well, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. God bless everyone.